So good morning, everyone. In the interest of time, we're going to just try to book through a PowerPoint to keep everybody on the same page. I want to thank you all for attending. I do want to let you know ahead of time we are recording this meeting. So if you have any deep, dark secrets, you might want to save those for later. At the end of the presentation, we will be opening it up for Q&A. We'll stop the recording just in case anybody has anything sensitive related to their own operations in their question. But we're going to start the meeting now. So if you have not met us yet, we have Julie Call. Julie is our Director of Professional Services and Development, and she's been with us for almost 29 years. She's actually going to go through the live portion of this demonstration. We have myself, Kirsten Austin. I am the president of the company. Want to thank everybody for joining us. Before we even get into the presentation, I must say that we know your time is valuable. We really try to make these as informative as possible. Our goal is that you get one or two pieces of information that you can utilize in your operations straight out of the gate, or an idea that might help you to start collaborating with your team on even rolling in more of our functionalities into your operations. We also want to thank you for your business. I know it's been a crazy couple of years, but my motto is if you're still standing, you're still in the game. So we would not even be here if it wasn't for you. You put warm food in our bellies. We're able to drive and live in our homes because of you, and we're going to continue improving our product to make sure that we meet your needs as we get through these crazy times. So the agenda and purpose of the customer update, this is really important. Our product is always evolving. So we have new features that come into the product several different ways. The first way they come into the product is if we have a customer and they want us to develop functionality and it seems like it would make sense for all of our end user community, we will roll it into our standard product, and that way everyone benefits and our customers benefit because you don't have to pay for a one-off modification. In addition, we add functionality and new features based on popular demand. So Julie's a great go-to for this. We will be implementing surveys soon. I'll kind of talk about that at the end of my PowerPoint. But we are extremely generous in adding new improvements and features, and we leverage our maintenance revenue for that. So we thank you for keeping up to date and paying your renewals on time, because we put a lot of that money directly back into this product. And that is why we do have such a mature, robust product with so many features that you can leverage in your operation. Additionally, the carriers, so the FedEx, the UPS, the USPS, the Purolator, the T-Force, all those guys are constantly changing. They're constantly changing their offerings, their APIs, etc. So we do a lot of work to keep up to date with those guys. So it's really important for you all to always, if there's something that you want to do with DC Warehouse, please ask us first. We may already have that feature in our product. We also point out functionality that can save you time and money overall. We're going to mainly focus on product today, but we do share any ideas or subject matter that we think may be of interest to your team. So again, we appreciate you all attending today. So 7.90.050, it's a lot of numbers. So just in a nutshell, Julie wanted me to point this out. But when we talk about 050, we know that we're supporting several versions of DC Warehouse, so don't let that scare you. That 050 follows 7.9, 8.0, and 8.2. So we keep all of that update. I'm not going to read all of this to you, and as an FYI, I will be sending you a copy of this recording and of this PowerPoint in the next few days after today's presentation. But we have so much good stuff to show. We've got new packing list format. We've done a lot, and for those of you that are dealing with a lot of serial numbers and a lot of part numbers, we've done a lot to change the leading zeros just to make computing easier for you. We've done some improvements to our auto run settings. We've done some improvements to our fast picking, a lot of serial field scan improvements, and if our customer milestone is on, we thank you for your business. They're a newer customer that we took live about, I think, I want to say a year and a half ago, but they deal with a lot of serial numbered items, and so we've put a lot of improvements there. We've done some things to make RMA receiving a little bit easier, and then we put a lot of new things in, and we want to thank our clients XR for their latest little development that they did pay for, but we thought it would be popular for other customers that might have a three-step process. So what we've done is use the wave pick in a way that just makes it easier to automate that whole process and track that whole process. So it's super slick. Julie and Ray talked about this to me the other day, and I'll be seeing it for the first time as well today. I do want to talk about the road ahead. So in the next few months, you're going to see us working super hard here. We are going to be accommodating FedEx. We are going through our certification process. Every year we have to do this, and those guys and UPS have completely revamped their API, and they're using a technology that up until yesterday I thought it was called JSON, but it's JSON. But we will be accommodating that as they roll those technology features out. And after we're done with FedEx and UPS, we are going to move up to Banyan's latest release, which is their 4.0. So this is a lot of work that we're doing. I do want to give you a little heads up. Down the road, if you are going to use the newer FedEx and UPS APIs, there is a higher version of SQL. So I have it listed here. We also, when we send out communications in the next 2 days, we will be sending out our updated hardware and system requirements sheet. The other things we're going to do is additional EDI improvements. So you are all aware that we work with 4 different EDI solutions, packing, or tracking and pushing data back and forth, so you don't have to leave our system to do that. We're doing some really slick little changes to that. We've got some neat things that we're doing for stock movements. And then for our lovely manufacturers out there, we're doing a whole bunch of work order processing improvements. As I mentioned before, we are going to send out a survey to you all requesting some feedback on some new features and integration ideas that we have. And we would really, we try really hard not to send you tons of emails. I know I come into my office and I'm just like delete. I can't stand it when people send me 80 million emails. So I hope you know that we only send emails out if there's something super important, like a customer update or something that we need to let you know. But we will be sending out a survey soon. I want to get you all to feedback on some things. And one of it is I was approached by a company. It's called UPIC Shipping Insurance. Really super nice people. But what they do is if you do have to insure your parcels when those are going out the door, UPIC has significantly cheaper rates, and they've got kind of a slick little API, so it could potentially be cost savings, but we don't want to go ahead and put development time on that unless we even know we have an audience for that. We also have some other ideas in our product that came directly from you all. But what we want you to do is say, yeah, would that be worth it? Which would be more important to you, et cetera. So if you all do get a survey, pretty pleased with the cherry on top, fill that out for us. Want to give you a reminder, some of you were not at the last two customer updates, and some of you are new to the customer update. You know, it's kind of old news, but we had the same hardware partner for years and years and years. When I actually became the president of the company and started changing a lot of things about the way that we operated, I just felt like, in my humble opinion, their service and response time wasn't meeting the model that I expected. We onboarded two new partners, TRG Solutions and Data Gear, and both of those have been doing really, really good. And again, I will send this information out. This will be on our requirement listing, and also you'll have these contacts to call if you're interested in looking at new hardware for your operations. Want to talk to you about our Banyan shipping integration, because we're doing a lot there. So as you all know, most of you have our package manager, and that's our multi-carrier parcel shipping. It's a rate shopping and shipping solution. It does so much, it's just crazy. But for LTLs outside of T-Force and FedEx, we did make a commitment to integrate with Banyan. So Banyan is a TMS tool, and they're agnostic. Basically, they're not a broker. They're just a technology. They're a cloud-based tool, and they have tons and tons of LTL, TL carrier connections, and basically we are leveraging them to pull data into our system to make your shipping process much more easier. And it's super slick how it works, and we're making that integration tighter and tighter. I will tell you, in the last 2 years, based on all the craziness in the world, shipping costs are fluctuating so much. So, of course, it depends on what you're shipping, your point of origin. Are you going through a broker? Have you negotiated with the carrier direct? But this side-by-side shipping and rate shopping is really powerful, and I don't want to say you're going to save millions of dollars, but you certainly are going to lower your freight spend if you start shopping for rates more often. I will give you an example of a customer of mine that I really appreciate so much in New Jersey. They implemented Banyan, and they said they were able to lower their freight costs by 23 points, and that's not, that's not chump change. So we will continue to tighten the Banyan integration up, and a lot of you have looked at it in the past. You haven't seen all the cool new stuff we've done. If you do want to set up a demo with us to take a look at this, we'd be happy to show that to you. I want to give you a reminder of the shipping options, because some people out there have been using our system so long that they forgot everything that we do. And then we also have customers that have new team members joining their team, so they may not understand everything that we offer and all of the options out there. So on top of our base warehouse management system that allows for the wireless devices and picking and packing and shipping and materials control and receiving, and then all of the features that we have to round out solutions, we do have these options. We have the package manager. 92% of you all have that. We have one customer that it's weird, they don't ship, so they just use us for RF, but everyone else has the package manager. So that does allow you to shop for rates between, and this is for parcel, between UPS, USPS, and that's through Indicia, that's now owned by Stamps.com, FedEx, and DHL, so you can do this at the time of order entry or packaging. We do allow you to shop for rates. We also can look at things such as what will get you there the fastest. So this is really cool and super slick. If you're not using all of the package manager or you're not aware of it, we recommend that you take a look at overview of our product. We also have a direct T-Force integration. We have a direct FedEx LTL freight option. We have an optional Purelator option. We also have, and it's free. I mean, the Cubus can't scan thing isn't free, but this integration is included in our standard product. And I can never say this word, and I had too much coffee today, but Cubiscan is a large capacity dimensioner. Whew, said it. And then we talked about our Banyan integration as well. So I just wanted to make sure that you all are aware of that. We also have an Avalara integration. Say what you will, but Avalara is a very large player in the sales tax market, and a lot of my distributors and manufacturers never had to pay sales tax or charge for sales tax in the past, and that is all changing due to the world changing. But if you want to use the Avalara integration, it works very slick. We also have our 3PL module. This is something we wrote, I want to say it was 4 years ago. All the years blend together, but we've tightened this up as well. So what this is for is a lot of our customers are more and more leveraging 3PLs, whether it be for, a specific location, for added fulfillment capacity, et cetera. And so, it's very, in some cases it's a little bit expensive to bring those 3PL players onto DCWarehouse, even though we have customers that have made their 3PLs do that, so they're working as if they are just working within DCWarehouse. But we do have a 3PL module that basically helps support the transmission of picking and shipping information back and forth between remote warehouse locations that do not use Sage 500 or DCWarehouse. We also have an integration. Again, this is free, not the service from E2Open, but this integration is included in our standard product. It's a service and database that helps check products out before shipping them. In a nutshell, a lot of our customers are shipping internationally, and you can get nailed, and sometimes it's the weirdest thing, that you are not allowed to ship into specific countries. And we're not even talking ammo or anything. We're talking just silly, goofy things, but, apparently you'll get nailed with that. So what E2Open is there a database and a service that they start looking at all of the products, all of the countries, and they can say, whoops, you cannot ship it to that country unless you want, whatever, a $35,000 fine or whatever they do. So that's included in our product. We also have our credit card piece. We never wanted to get into the credit card business, but years ago, everybody had a credit card. Sage had a credit card piece. All these third-party people had a credit card piece. And if you're using our order entry screens, it is really slick. A lot of the things we let you do in our order entry, but we were just tired of aligning our order entry with everyone else's credit card piece, and so we decided we would write our own. So we are using .NET tools that go through PayFlow Pro, and that's another thing I can never say. It is super, super slick how we have it. There's so many options that we've put into that. We give you different options for security. We can settle at the time of shipments. You can do installation payments, etc. We can mask all the data. So if you do take credit cards and you're not happy with what you have in place and you want to take a look at what we have, we would be happy to demonstrate what we have in place here. And then, of course, this is included with our product. Obviously, we're not an EDI vendor, but we do work with 4 different EDI vendors. So basically, once those orders come in via EDI, we can pick, pack, and ship them. And then on the shipping side, we're taking all that ASN data and exporting that to your EDI solution so you don't have to step in and do manual data entry. So all of these things are included in our product. speaking of our product, I know I bang on this every customer update, but I know a lot of people have merged with other companies. It's been kind of a crazy time, so a lot of people have new personnel. I implore of you to consider the training in St. Louis. And no company does this, but you have an option on your annual renewal to have 2 days of training with us, one-on-one with your company, and this is huge. So this is good even if you, all were in the original training. Hey, if you want to circle back now that you got some things under your belt and you want to do more advanced functionality, maybe you never deployed manufacturing. Maybe you never deployed our advanced bin replenishment. This is ideal for deploying additional DC Warehouse features. It's great for understanding the newer features because let me tell you, there's tons of new things going on with FedEx, UPS, all those players. Great for new team members. Training is so important. So this is ideal. It gets them away from the environment. It shows them this tool that you already have purchased and licensed. Give them a great idea. Let them, in a relaxed environment, have hands-on with the guns, which is the scanning devices. So please consider sending folks out here to training. And if you send them out in spring, we'll even try to sweeten the pot and take you to St. Louis Cardinals game. So think about it. I mentioned this in the last customer update, but I do want to bring this up again. So we have such a beautiful solution. Our solution, must be combined with good operational processes. But in the last year and a half, I have been doing our on-site analysis with several customers. And, when I do that, I will look at them as if I'm new and as if I haven't even been working with them for years, look through everything, go through their processes, talk about some things, come back, explain to our team what's going on so we can circle back and, and help them to continue growing with our system. And some of this stuff is low-hanging fruit, but the first thing, I know this sounds like a no-brainer, but dirty data does cost you money. And the only way I can tell you this is you should really lock down who can enter new item and part numbers, who can enter your bill of materials. And please don't do any weird back-end SQL stuff to update inventory master records. Our clients really appreciate the fact that when they go live with DC Warehouse, we make them do a beginning count at least on their most popular items. We recommend cycle counting, etc. But it doesn't stop there. You all got to lock this down. I recommend once a year taking a look at your data and seeing what's out there, seeing what's active, seeing if you have multiple part numbers, etc. The other low-hanging fruit, and most of y'all are using us for receiving. I think 78% of you are, but receiving is the most critical touch point for materials and inventory control. It is so critical that y'all have a designated receiving area, that your receivers are trained, and that you are using DC Warehouse to receive that. So this is where I see people falling, off. They do everything else right, but then I'm like, what's going on? Why do you still have a PC over there, and why is all that stuff still sitting at your receiving dock? So I don't mean to pound this out, but I really, if there is any reason you're not using us for receiving, please circle back, talk to us, and we will work with you on this, whether it's training, if it's some little tiny development you need, what have you. You should be using the scanners for receiving. And then not everyone, but a few of you have been on our system for years and years and years and years. And in our last customer update, Julie actually showed you how to purge older transactions, but if you are having latency issues and you've been on us for years and you have large shipments, please circle back and talk to us so we can show you how to purge old data. We've got some tools built right into our solution to do that. I do want to tell y'all about something new that we have done. I work with Michael Cowell and a few others on this, but we do have a YouTube channel, and we are going to continuously add little things to it. Our next goal is to go over all the things that we do for cycle counting. But if you have any new people at your company, I implore you to look at our general DC Warehouse overview, because they may not even know the capabilities of our product. It's only an hour and 18 minutes. Since it's on YouTube, you can look at it, when you want on your time, so you don't have to wait for us to have a scheduled overview. But I highly recommend this. If you are a manufacturer, I was invited 2 years in a row. The first year I talked about supply chain concepts, and then this year I had simple advice for growing manufacturers. So that might be a good one to look at off time, because I packed it with information of things that if your manufacturing is growing your operation, just a lot of low-hanging fruit and good ideas for you to smooth out some of your processes, and some good ideas even on hiring, some good things on supply chain, some good resources for you, etc. So again, we'll send out the information to our YouTube channel, this recorded presentation, and the link to all of this information. But right now, I'm going to turn it over to Julie, and she's actually going to show you the live software pieces that we talked about.
And I wanted to thank all of you for joining today to view our presentation on the version 0.050. I'm really excited about some of the changes that we've made. There's some really cool features in there, and I've also noticed some names on the list that were not on the last actual customer update. So I want to make sure that for those of you, as Kirsten was talking about PO receiving and making sure that that's critical to use, I do want you guys to know that if you are not using PO receiving, please go back and look at what was in 49, because we added some really robust and cool features in the 49 FAR PO receiving, as far as labeling, as far as receiving, as far as being able to choose the batches. So I just wanted to point that out before we get started. But today's focus is going to be on version 50, and as Kirsten mentioned, that is for version 7.9, 8.0, and 8.2. In this actual version 50 that we added, the majority of the changes were on the sales order pick, pack, ship side. We do have a few changes on the PO receiving. We do have a few things more kind of generic that spans across all of the different areas, but the majority of it was on pick, pack, ship. So today I'm going to take you through and show you what some of these different features are. So we're going to start on sales order pick, pack, ship. First thing is just a real simple little change, but we've been talking with a lot of people as far as how they're doing fast picking, wave picking. The majority of you use the standard process of where it goes through and it is actually going in and directing you by bin and telling you the best route to take through the warehouse. But some customers have, mentioned over the past year or two, hey, I would like to do it this way, or I'd like to see a list of items, or I'd like to, require certain fields or add new functionality or add different options. So we've started incorporating some of those. One of them is just a simple little change, but let's say when you're doing fast picking, maybe you didn't want it to route you in bin order. Maybe you wanted it to route you by item order. So we've started adding some of those. And the first one is what we call our fast picking item ID order. So if for some reason you want let's say that you printed out the pick list in item ID order and you wanted the handheld to match up exactly so that the user didn't get confused, we actually have the capability to do that now. So simple change, it was in fast picking, and if you wanted to implement that, It's just a matter of a new RF option on here, item ID order. Notice that is checked. And I've seen a lot of people use this when they're using kits because obviously kits are going to break out. Those BTO kits make more components on the list, and you want that sorted in a certain manner. So in my specific example, I actually have an order, just to show you. And I'll bring this up. 1, 2, 3, 3, 8. And these first two items are just regular items. The last two items are kits. And these kits have quite a few items in them. So let's say, for example, just to clarify this further, if I go and I create a pick list, and I'll create a pick list for this specific order, come in here, bring up my order number, and let's create a pick for this. Okay. Now, when I'm going in and looking at this, notice in my case I have the pick list sorted by item ID, just to show that it matches up. So when I'm looking at this, I've got a bunch of different items, but the critical ones to point out, 1.44 floppy, 10100 adapt, hard drive, and so on. So it is going in item ID order. With that being said, with that new option turned on, in fast picking, if I were to come over here, now go into my fast picking screen, bring up that specific pick list, you'll notice instead of it directing me by the bin, it can simply just go through and direct me by the item ID, since that's the option that I had turned on. Next item, again, it's not going by bin, it's going specifically by the item ID in this specific case. So again, just one simple new little feature that, if you didn't necessarily want to sort by bin, you do have more options now. And the same concept, we're doing a lot of things on the wave picking side as far as item lists as well. So I'll show you one of those later in case you missed the last customer update. So that's for the fast picking. Next thing is related to the create pick list and auto run. When we talk about the auto run, I know many of you use this feature, but there's some of you that I know do not. When you create pick lists, you do have this schedule auto run feature. And if you don't see the tab here, it's in the WL options. You can actually activate this tab to be shown on your screen. So on here, one big change has been made to this. Basically, on your options tab, you think about when you create a pick list. Not only when you select orders, do you have filter settings here that you can determine if you're looking for UPS orders, FedEx orders, whatever they may be, but you also have options here. So are you printing wave? Are you printing order? Do you want certain options to print out on your form? Exactly what do you want printed on there? So the big thing with this auto run is we have added this column. So before it was just basically printing out one format and you couldn't choose. So in here now, let's say that I wanted to do LTL orders, but I want that in wave pick format. And then maybe I want UPS orders in order format. So you can go ahead and pick and choose which print format you want for each setting that you have. So that option was added to be able to pick and choose these different print settings. That was not there in prior versions. That is a new addition to version 50. So keep that in mind. So just one simple change there, but definitely now you have more control over what settings you want as well as what print settings you want for each of those individual print runs. So auto run for create pick list. The next one is a new packing list form that we added. And this new packing list form actually has a breakout. Most of you print either just the packing list shipment, which shows you everything on the shipment, or you may print a packing list package, which shows you all the details within a package. Same concept with pallets. With this new form that we created, in Package Manager, I may want to just click on a shipment and then have that one packing list shipment form break everything out for me, whether it's packages and what's in each of the packages, or pallets and what's in each of the pallets. So simply, if I come here, and I'm going to change this to shipment and bring up my specific shipment number, and I'm going to go ahead and expand all the levels. So you can see here I've got multiple items, I've got serial numbers, I've got these in specific boxes or pallets, so you can see all of the details there. But to access this new form, right now, you'll simply right-click, choose this packing list shipment by package, and when I bring this form up, it looks a little different. It looks like a combination of both your packing list shipment and your packing list package form. So I can see things such as I see not only the whole shipment on here, but I can see that it's broken out by either pallet or box. So since I had those 3 different pallet or boxes, I can see that, and then I can see all of the details within each one. So what is the total quantity within that specific pallet or box? We also included to show serial information, sales order breakout. So if this specific shipment included multiple sales orders or multiple POs, you'd be able to see all of that detail. I can also see any comments that I had with those specific lines. It goes on to the second page. And then also at the end, we did also add a total section. So how many total pallets or boxes did you have? How many total pieces? How many total pounds? So again, just a new type of packing list form that I've heard a couple times in the past of an interest in this. So this form is now available to you from the package manager. And in the future, we will also be adding that as far as the quick ship buttons. So like how you have a packing list button on the actual screen, we'll be adding one for that specific type of a form as well. So, but for right now, you do have the capability to access that form simply by right-clicking on the shipment and choosing this specific option. Another feature that we added was what we call our shipment sorter. Now, I know a lot of you are going through and you may have kind of like a 2-step process, as I like to call it. So with a 2-step process, you're going through, you're picking your product, you create your shipment, and then it immediately goes to your package manager. And that's where you go ahead and you pack it and you actually get it out the door. Now, let's say that some of you may have a 3-step process, where with a 3-step process, you're going to go ahead and you are going to create the pick list, pick it, generate the shipment, but at that point, you have an intermediate process before it gets up to package manager. Let's say I wave picked a bunch of orders, and now I'm taking them to a sorter. And that sorter is going to take those wave picks. They may not have, full scan done. They may just have a simple table with maybe a wedge scanner, and they're going to take those shipments and actually break them out for me before it actually gets up to package manager or to the packing station. So in their specific case, they're taking those specific shipments, they're breaking it out, all the items needed for a specific shipment, getting it into a tote, and then that tote's going to be sent up to the actual packing station or to the shipping station, and they'll go ahead and confirm, yes, it looks like everything's here based upon what the sorter had done, and then they'll go ahead and package it and get it out the door. So we've added a new process to help that sorting. Let's say you have a user and your items are small. They can't really read exactly the product ID on it. You don't want them to have to do a lot of thinking. So with this process, what we did is we tried to make it as simple as possible for the shipment sorter. So just to kind of walk you through what it would look like, I'll just bring up one, but I've entered 5 different orders, and these 5 different orders may have similar items, they may have different items, but I've got 5 orders, which in essence are going to turn into 5 shipments. So in here, I've got 5 orders. All 5 orders were put onto a pick list. that pick list is waived. So I'm going to go ahead and I went through, I did my wave picking for all 5 of those pick lists, and the shipments were generated. Now, when those shipments were generated, I went ahead and printed out my packing slip. And with that packing slip, now I've got 5 packing slips. Let's say I get to the shipment sorting section. One of the things that we did to make it really simple is when I went ahead and I picked, and I was wave picking, let's say I put it into this big cart that I'm pushing around with me. I get over to the shipping sorting section, and they've got 5 totes sitting there now for me. And I'm going to label those 5 totes A for my first shipment, B for my second shipment, C, third, D, fourth, and so on down the line. So just to make it easier for the user so they don't have to look at shipment numbers, they can simply see A for the first one, B for the second one, and so on. Now I'm going to take those packing lists that were printed as I was picking and put them next to each one in order, because keep in mind when you print your packing list from the RF, they do come in sequential order. So I've got those by each one of my little totes that these shipments are going to go into. So I'm going to come here, go to my new shipment sorter screen, and we're going to make it as simple as possible for these users to take things out of the cart and know exactly which tote to put it in based upon those 5 shipments. So in here, I'm going to go ahead and pick up my pick list. So let's say that the user only has a simple little wedge scanner. I'm actually just going to type that in. And it says go ahead and grab the first item. So they just randomly grab whatever's on top of the cart. So let's say that I went ahead and I grabbed this first item. It's automatically going to look through the items that are sitting on that pick list and broken out into those shipments behind the scenes, and it's going to say, go put that in tote B. At that point, all the user has to know is they scan an item, and they go to tote B and scan B. And then it goes to the next item. Now let's say that I had another of that same item, and it was sitting on top of the cart. I go ahead, pull that same item out. It knows, hey, you've already fulfilled the one that was in shipment 2, or B. Now you need the next one to go to tote C. So the user's going to go there. But let's say that the user accidentally messes up and they forgot and they tried to scan A. It automatically tells them, no, you went to the wrong spot. You need to go ahead and put this in C. So now they do C, and that is correct. Now I'll go ahead and do one more. This one goes in D. And it's just basically they're scanning the item, telling them where to put it. They confirm that they put it there. And it's a simple, quick way of sorting. Now let's say that they had scanned all of the specific item. If they tried to scan it again, they should not have any more of it. It will tell them this item has already been scanned. Please scan another item. So it's just basically putting validation in there to ensure that they're not trying to, maybe they picked too many of that specific product. Maybe, they had forgotten to put it in a tote. So it's going through and doing validation for you. Then other items, it's just as simple as going through. I'll pick up a different one. And you just keep going through and doing that until at the end it would finally come up and just give you another message just saying you have moved all items, you're done. And it would go back up to pick list, and you can go ahead and move on to the next sorting. So really quick, simple way of being able to sort shipments when you do have that intermediate process in between your picking and your actual packaging and shipping. So new feature there. Another option that we've added is wave picking transfer order item list. So in version 49, we actually gave you the capability on wave picking to go in and when you are picking sales orders, you'd be able to pick up an item list. So again, how I was talking how we've been adding new features to your different types of picking if you didn't necessarily want to go and just bin order. In wave picking in 49, we added the ability to choose that item list. In 50, we went one step further and also added the same capability for transfers. So in here, if you are wanting to look at that specific type of feature to be able to pick and select off of your item list, in here, if I go under SO, picking, wave picking, you should see a new option called Item Selection List. That has to be enabled in order to see the item selection list. And then if I come over here to my handheld, and let's say I went to wave picking, simply changed this to transfers, went ahead and picked up my pick list. You should see when you hit enter, the list. So whatever's on that pick list, it would show a whole list of all of the different items, and then you can pick and choose which one you want to go ahead and pick first. I've seen some people request this if they know that certain products are really large and they want to go ahead and get them out of the way first so that they can put them on the bottom of a pallet. So keep that in mind that you do have that capability. If that is not turned off, it will go back to its old format of it's just automatically directing you through the specific pick. So just a simple little option there. One of the next things that we have is on the pick list. When you reprint pick lists, there is actually distribution now showing on your reprints. So for those of you that do utilize serial numbers, you will be able to see those. So simply if I went to reprint pick list in DCWarehouse, and let's say that I picked up a pick list that I know a portion of it has already been picked. When I come here, I'm going to go ahead and just reprint. I need to make sure standard distribution was on. But in here, notice that this specific item, I have already picked all of the serial numbers for this specific one so far. Notice they will show on my pick list when I reprint it. However, this item is also a serialized product, but it does not have any serials picked yet. So it's just showing blank serial lines to notate to me that, hey, this one still has to be picked in its specific case. So basically, when you go through and you are reprinting any pick lists, those types of distributions will now be seen if you have that standard distribution option checked on your reprint pick list screen. So just keep that in mind. Another feature that has been added is now for the RMA. So with the RMA, we actually have basically made that process a little bit simpler if you are going through and receiving serials. So, and this is the full-blown Sage serials process, not the pseudo-serial process within just straight DCWarehouse. So for RMAs, serial prompt order. Basically, when you would receive an RMA before this version, it would go to the line, you would see the serial number, and it would immediately go back up to the top, and you'd have to choose the item again, you'd have to choose the bin again, and then the second serial. So it became a little bit, cumbersome when receiving serial numbers through that RMA process. So we have improved this dramatically as far as making it easy for the user. So if I go, and let's say that I'm going to go to receive RMA, and I'm going to go ahead and pick up RMA 283. Let's say that I want line 2, which I know is a serialized product, and I come in here, and I'm going to go ahead and get to my serial field. So at this point, let's say that I'm going to receive serial number 50. We'll say, sure, one label. I'm not going to print it. Notice it immediately went back to serial. Prior versions, that would have gone automatically back up here to the top, and I would have chose the item again, gone down to the bin, and done the next serial product to receive on that RMA. Now it does come right back to the serial, and I could simply put that next one in, and makes it a really quick process. So again, if you are doing any sort of serial number receipts with the RMA process, that has just been dramatically improved for you to go ahead and bring in a bunch of those at one time. ASNs. Let's talk about the next feature, printing ASNs per line in multi-box mode. For those of you that have no clue what multi-box mode is, basically if you're using fast picking or in the system, you can go through and you can pick an item and you can put it into a box. And we know that if you are currently using ASNs, once you create a box, on the next box it will go ahead and print out the prior box's ASN label. Basically that since you created a new box, it completed the prior one. Well, in multi-box mode, you can go through and think of it as I'm pulling a bunch of cases. And I don't want to have to sit there and say that, okay, I'm going to go ahead and pull 100 of these, but that's 100 boxes or 100 cases that I'm pulling. So I want the system to automatically make a box number for each one of those. Well, in multi-box mode, that's what it's doing. It's going through, and when you're doing these case type orders or you're doing these multi-box type orders, it's creating those boxes simply, or quickly, should I say, for you, so that you're not have to doing them one by one. Well, one of the changes that we made in multi-box mode is printing of the ASN labels. We didn't want to have to wait until we get to the next box number creation in order to print out the prior boxes. So in here, basically what I'm going to do is if I go to my RF options, to activate this, I can go to picking, ASN label, and I've got a new option called print after each line in sales order MB mode. And kind of show you how this would work is let's say that I'm going to go ahead and I'll create just a quick little order. And I'm going to go ahead and pick up my customer first, bring up 3 different items. Let's say 4 for that one. I'll do 3 for this one. And the last one, I will go ahead and just do 2 for that. So I've got 3 different items, multiple different numbers of boxes. Now I'll go ahead and create the pick list. And I'll come over here, just pick up my specific order. And I'll go ahead and just process that through. 72055. Okay. At this point, I'll just save it, and I'll come over here to my handheld. So basically, I'm going into direct picking. I'm going into fast picking, but I'm going to change the mode here. So at this point, I'm going up, changing this to sales order MB mode. If you never knew that that was there, yes, you can simply change that to one of the other options. Let's say that I'm going to put it in this type of box, and I'll go ahead and bring up that pick list. So at this point, I go through. I'm not going to use a palette in this specific case. Say where I'm picking it from. And you notice the difference with this is instead of just choosing one box, it's saying, okay, how many did you pick out of the 4? I picked 4, and I want that in 4 boxes. So it's automatically going to create 4 boxes, 1 each in those. And at this point, we have changed it. So again, as I mentioned before, it would have originally gone through and actually did my ASN labels once I got to the next item and started the next round of boxes. We didn't want that anymore for the multi-box mode. It should print right after I finish these. So as soon as I hit enter on this number of 4 boxes, it goes ahead, and I'm just bringing it to the screen so you can see it, but it went ahead and gave me the 4 ASN labels immediately as soon as I went ahead and I said I picked that and put it in 4 boxes. If I do the next line, which this one will be, let's bring this up. I think this one is the 3. So I've got 3. I'm going to put that in 3 boxes. Again, immediately as soon as you finish the item or the line, it's giving me the correct number of ASN labels. So again, in multi-box mode, you now have that feature available to you. A couple of the smaller changes that we've added into the system for the pick, pack, ship. For those of you, I know some of you may not use this feature, but I know some of you do. They're freight forwarder. Basically, if you've been using the freight forwarder and entering that at the sales order or entering that at the customer options, you now have the ability to clear that. So before, once you added it, it was kind of just set in stone for that specific order, and if you needed to get rid of it, you did have to start a new order or just get rid of the order. So in here, basically, if I go ahead, what I'm talking about with this is, let's say that I go ahead and just make an order, and I come over here to More, go to the header, DCWarehouse. There is a box called Freight Forwarder, which this information can show up for LTL type orders onto your BOL. On here, if something is added in, notice one thing that we have now is an actual clear button. So if you did not want this to go ahead and be entered in for a specific order, you can simply go ahead and clear it, save it, and that will go ahead and clear that out for the order. And the same concept was added to customer options. If you go ahead and remove the name in the actual customer options screen, that will go ahead and remove it. So we do have the capability to clear any data that you may have put in there before. One other small just option, I won't show this one, but this is more just for reference purposes, packing lists. I know that we have added a few different fields behind the scenes so that if you do want to add those onto your custom packing list, things like, I know that we had original quantity ordered on there before, but we did add the field just regular quantity ordered to that. That is available for our reports if you are making any changes to your custom packing list. One other option on the sales order pick, pack, ship side, package inquiry. I know many of you utilize the package inquiry. Package dimensions. Some of you may not even have noticed that that was on there, but if you did see that, one thing that was changed, it was noticed that it was bringing up just regular the box dimensions. I don't know if any of you had noticed that as well. But let's say, for example, what I'm talking about with this is if I come over here and let's say that I have a box, and that box is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the box dimensions for this box are 10, 10, and 10. Okay? Now if I come over to Package Manager, and when I'm looking at my Package Manager, let's say that I had a shipment, and that shipment utilized that box, and I'll bring this up, and I overwrote those dimensions to be 12, 13, and 15. Now, when you're going in and you're looking at that package inquiry, in prior versions, it was actually showing you the maintained box dimensions, the 10, 10, 10, which we don't want it to do. So in here, this was updated, and I just wanted to point this out so that you'd be able to see that for any new ones, if you are utilizing this for any reporting or looking at this, it is utilizing, if it is overwritten at the actual package manager, it is showing the overwritten dimensions here. So just a simple little thing that was updated there, but pretty important if you're doing any reports or sending this to Excel. So again, that was the packages inquiry package dimensions right there. The next one is on the PO side. Just a simple little validation, but this one little validation can go a long way for those of you that are receiving serialized products. What happens when you receive serialized products? And let's say that your vendor sends you a serial number that is way too long. Sage only allows up to 20 characters for their serial numbers. So what happens? Basically, we will go ahead and, because we want to allow that to go through, it gets cut off. So you may take the first 20 characters and cut off the last, let's say if it was 23 long, it will cut off the last 3. What could happen, though, is if you have multiple serial numbers coming in with the same first 20 characters, then it starts causing issues for posting because they may end up start having the same number. Maybe those last 3 were unique. So we have added validation to pretty much stop that now, just because it could be causing issues as you're trying to go through and post. So let's say, just to show you an example of what it's going to do now, is basically when I'm going through and I'm receiving, and I'm going to go ahead and pick up my PO, and I'm not going to do any labels for this time. And at this point, I'm going to go ahead and just confirm my item. But let's say when I get to this serial field, if I try to put in, let's say that I had scanned in a serial number that was 23 characters instead of the 20, as that, again, that's where Sage 500 stops, and that's the longest amount of length that they will accept for a serial number. So I'm just going to basically force this to know that it is a serial number longer than 20 characters. As soon as I do that, it is going to start doing validation for the user to make sure that they know, hey, this serial number is too long to be scanned. And so at this point, now an administrative decision needs to come into play. You guys need to think, what do you want to do with that serial number? Because it really shouldn't be scanned, and it could cause issues with duplicate numbers. It will basically stop your PO posting if any of them are the same. So validation was added to prevent things like that from happening on the PO side of things. Just a couple other generic. For those of you that were on 49, the actual version 49 customer update, you know that we started adding in to some of the screens the RF autofill leading zeros. I know that drove a lot of you crazy for a long time, but we basically, with 49, had started that process. With 50, we have finished it. So the autofill leading zeros, you shouldn't have to see that anymore if you do enter any of those numbers manually in. I know in 50, we made many different changes. We actually took the time and went through every single screen, saw anywhere that we, could see that it was still forcing those leading zeros, and went through and modified them. So things like PO receiving, transfer order mode, you won't notice it there anymore. Ready to ship, pick list field, picking box with sales order number, shipments, sales order and pick list. So every single screen that we've gone through, just every little area has been touched. Even on the manufacturing side, everything from material issues, material reversal, start job, labor multi-disc, labor returns, all of those, whether it's work order number, step number, those have been touched. So anytime that you go into a screen, so let's say, for example, one of the ones that we had just changed was the transfer order mode for PO receiving. So simply by hitting F7, I get over to transfer order mode, and this is technically 7 zeros of 107. I'm going to put in just 107, and it recognizes it. The same concept for anyone doing manufacturing. Let's say that I went to material issues. Basically, here, instead of adding all the zeros, I just do 1202. Again, it fills in all the zeros for you. So again, that isn't across the board. We've gone through all the different screens and made sure that now, that was kind of a two-part process between 49 and 50. With 50, all of those should be now updated. The next kind of thing that kind of spans multiple areas is an RF option requires serial scan. For those of you that do utilize serial numbers, maybe you don't want the user to just pick up from a list when they're going through and picking, or maybe when they're doing a stock movement and just choose a random serial number, but then they end up moving a different one. You want to force them to actually scan the serial number that they're actually picking or that they're actually moving, and make sure that that serial scan stays in place, that it's not just allowing them to pick from a list. So if you do want to use that feature, there are new RF options, and this is in 3 different areas that we've actually added this to. First one is wave picking. So RF option, basically if I come to picking, wave picking, you will notice require serial scan. So basically what this does is when I go to my handheld device and I go into my picking area and wave picking, and let's say that I picked up a specific pick list that I knew had a serialized product, I'll go ahead and choose my bin. And at this point, normally a user would just be able to hit enter. Not anymore. When you have that option turned on, again, if it's off, you could do whatever you want. You could pick it up from the list, you could scan it there, whatever you want. But with that new option turned on, this will force the user, if they try and just hit enter to pick up that list, it's going to say, no, scan the serial number that you're picking. And it actually does the validation behind the scenes to make sure that, yes, it is in that bin, and yes, it is a valid serial number. So basically here, it does do that extra one-step validation for those serialized products. Same concept will be seen on cycle count and stock movement if you are utilizing serial products. So in here, basically if I come in and I wanted to do that for any of my cycle counts, again, just activate the feature, require serial scan, or stock movement, require serial scan. So again, those will stop the user from being able to pick up a list, and it will force them to actually scan the serial number that they're moving or that they're counting. So now that we've talked about some of the features, there's some other little things in 50. Those are some of the majority of the bigger ones that are in there. We have finalized version 50. The full release notes is being wrapped up over the next day or two, and those will actually be up on the FTP site later this week. So I will make sure that those do get up there by the end of the week. We'll also be sending the link out for all the information related to 50 to all customers within the next week. So we will be sending that out just like we had done in the past, where it would go to anyone that is on our product release notes list. If you are not on that list or you have never received it in the past and would like to, just let us know. I also do want to point out that in 50, there were 7 fixes related to things like BOL printing. There was a signature displaying on the packlist form. It was not actually displaying on the packlist form once in some of these later versions. Things like a one-step container, and there were some other things related to USPS shopper rates and so on. But please make sure that you do look at any of those fixes that will be showing in the release notes. The other thing that I do want to point out, I know a few of you have used the signature automation feature. In version 50, the signature automation did need a driver update, so those driver updates are actually built within the version 50 installs. So you will automatically have any latest device updates for those if you do install the 50. And then as Kirsten kind of talked about with upgrades and things to look out for with the sequel, just anyone looking to move up to, Sage newer versions or DCWarehouse newer versions, just make sure that you please contact the support department for any information, and we'll work with you to get any of those questions answered. And this is becoming, more and more critical, especially with sequel versions, especially with the newer versions of the FedEx and UPS updates coming out soon. We do want to make sure that everyone is, going to be compliant, especially if you are utilizing FedEx and UPS integrations. We do want to make sure that you will be compliant as soon as those new updates are out. So I probably will have my team start calling around just to get a feel for, every single one of you exactly where you stand. Are you going to be sequel compliant? Are you going to move up to these later versions and so on? But those are some of the newer features, and at this time we will go ahead and open it up if there's any questions.